too north to be south, too south to be north. Where I'm from, Virginia, of course, too south to be north, too north to be south. What it's like. Hey yo, it is what it is. Yeah, hey yo, what it is, what it is. It couldn't be nothing else. We brought down place off.
Carter.
Andy.
What's up, man?
Finally
Finally got you on the line.
Yeah, I think it's probably been well over 25 years since I think I saw you last at however long it was that you guys graduated, you and my brother, right? You're the same class, 1999?
Yeah.
Or 95, brother.
95.
Wow. Holy smokes.
It's been a while. It's either 4 or 5 days, it'll be 19 years since I moved out here to California.
Oh, wow. You've been out here almost as long as me. I moved out here actually in 95. So it's, what's that, 23 years? Coming up on 20. Yeah, 23 years probably this month, I think. I forget. I took about 2 months driving out here. I kind of drove down to Chapel Hill, picked up a buddy, and turned right. and drove. I lived up in San Jose from 95 to 98, and then I moved down to Orange County.
What was it that brought you out here to California?
California, really. My uncle knew a guy at the time who had a company, a software company in San Jose, so that was kind of, there might be a job if you go out there. Nothing was really for certain, but it worked out. I just wanted to move out here, check it out. I've always been into skateboarding and music and stuff like that. So, I gave it a shot and, haven't been back since. Except
what was the hardcore scene like in San Jose?
Oh, it was killer, man. It was really cool. The 90s were kind of weird. So after kind of the whole Agnostic Front, Gorilla Biscuits, Youth of Today, Warzone era, sick of it all really started to blow up. And then kind of the New York hardcore thing kind of went in that tough guy direction, right? So there was the tough guy hardcore with bands like Starhead, Crown of Thorns, things like that. And then there was also sort of the crustier side of things that I think Nausea probably, kicked off in New York. And there was a lot of hardcore, but it was more, at least in San Jose and Santa Cruz, kind of on that crustier hardcore side. But I actually ended up joining a band called Loaded in San Jose. I was playing guitar with them for a while. Then I played drums. Brief stint in a band called Pipsqueak. And then just jammed around with some people, recorded a couple records, was on a couple of compilations that came out. Really kind of got exposed to just a whole new scene. I mean, I moved out here by myself. I had my skateboard, my guitar, my amp, and some camping gear when I showed up. I didn't know anybody. So I got in a crappy apartment downtown and just kind of roamed the streets and kind of fell in with what I would call the right people. I'm not so sure my parents would agree, but it was cool. Made some really solid friends, some solid connections, and just did a lot of skateboarding and a lot of music playing.
Was the digital revolution taking hold yet of San Jose at that time, or was that much later?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. This was around the time when companies were just starting to have websites, right? So there wasn't a huge. Put it this way, I think the biggest IPO at the time was Netscape, right? Remember that?
Yeah, vaguely.
Yeah, so it was kind of the dawn of the whole internet and kind of pre-e-commerce. But there was certainly nothing to do with music online really at the time.
Were you working in music, or were you working in something else?
I had a job at my uncle's friend, like I mentioned before. He had a software company, so I did everything from answer the phone to pack and ship boxes to make their website. Back when websites were just basically a screen and some text and maybe an image, right? And kind of learned web design as the whole thing kind of grew, right?
Did you get a chance to listen to the podcast and listen to your brother's episode?
I did. I listened to Brian's. I listened to my brother's. I listened to Matt Kozlowski. That's rad. You tracked Matt down. Wow. Holy smokes, that guy. And I started listening to Jerry. I listened to a little bit of Spookies, and a little bit of Jason. Spooky called me yesterday after you guys were hanging out. We went over to his house or something, right?
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, cool. That guy's a maniac. I love Spooky.
He's great. That was my first time over to his place, and now that he's back from Japan, he's got a show on Sunday. So I'm looking forward to going over and seeing him play. And since it's all ages, I can actually bring my daughter.
Right on. We're actually playing up in LA Saturday night. So I don't know what you got going on Saturday, but
God damn it! I'm actually I'm gonna be down your way. I'm actually going down to San Diego for the weekend.
Okay. Well, we'll be two strangers. Well, not so much strangers. Passing the night on the freeway.
Two ships passing in the night. Where are you playing here on Saturday?
It's some kind of all-day punk festival thing at a place called the 5 Star. I think it's on Main Street. Sounds like downtown, right?
Yeah. Or it could be. There's also a Main Street out in Santa Monica too. There's like two main streets.
Well, I don't know. We're gonna go. We don't play till 11:20. The only band I really want to check out. I haven't heard of any of the other bands that we're playing.
11:20 at night?
Yeah.
I might actually be back for that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send you the info then. There's a band called the Generators that are playing before us that are fucking great. And they're a good friend of ours. But the plan is, to kind of keep it in the, the skate rock tradition. We're going to go to South Pasadena, skate a backyard pool, and then eat food, and then play our show.
That's awesome. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
That's so rad. So, when did you get into skating?
Oh man. Well, I mean, every kid, has a skateboard when they're super little. I imagine in like I was probably 5 years old in 1977. I remember I had a double kick for the time, and now that I think about it, I can't believe it was a double kick. It was a molded plastic freeformer. So I learned I could ride down the hills and stuff like that. But I didn't really get into it until probably the 7th grade. So probably, what was that, 1984? 1983, 1984?
Yeah.
And it's funny, I remember, I guess it would have been my 12th birthday party. My friend Mark Glenshaw gave me a subscription to Thrasher magazine. It was a November 1984 issue, and there on the front cover, there's a headline for the article, JFA Tour Diary. And, so, I mean, if you would have told me then, that I would, so many years later, be traveling the world and skateboarding with them and playing in that band, I'd call you fucking nuts.
What a great gift.
Yeah.
That's a really good birthday gift, and it was the gift that just kept on giving.
Exactly. I haven't really put my skateboard down since.
Where did you like to skate in Reston?
Let's see. We would reconnoiter plywood from construction sites, and there were half pipes all through the woods of Reston. We're basically trying to, stay ahead of Roa, who, a ramp would go up, we'd skate it for as long as we could, and then all of a sudden we'd show up one day and the thing was demolished. So we would find another spot in the woods, build another one. Also, we would build jump ramps. I skated. There was a really fun ditch along I guess that's the toll road behind the Sheraton. We would skate that all the ditches we could find. We would try and skate at South Lake Center, but that was always a bust. A couple of people had backyard ramps that they built. There was a couple good ones in Stratton Woods. Brad Toth had one in the woods behind his house. He actually had a vert ramp and a mini ramp. And I skated that quite a bit. This was like the Bones Brigade era, right? With Pal Peralta and Lance Mountain and all those guys. So we skated everything that we could. Curbs, ditches, ramps, whatever. We didn't really have any pools. We tried, when they would drain the wrestling pools before Memorial Day. And we might have borrowed some of the pool coping for the ramps that we built. But as far as skateability, the rest of the row of pools were no good.
Would you listen to music while you skated?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so what would be playing on the boombox that you remember, while you guys were skating?
JFA would be one. Black Flag, Dead Kennedys, Sex Pistols, TSOL, Adolescents, Metallica, Slayer, NWA, Public Enemy, Red Hot Chili Peppers, everything, man. All the music that your mom didn't want you to listen to is what we were blaring. If it was high energy music and it hyped us and got us stoked to skate, that's what we would listen to.
When did you get your first guitar and your first drum kit, and which came first?
Drum set came first. I went to Hunters Woods Elementary. I don't know what elementary school you went to.
Sunrise Valley.
Oh, right on. I went to Hunters Woods. I think it was 5th grade was when you could start taking, snare drum. So I took that, and then really didn't do much after 6th grade.
Did you take that during the day, or was that like a before school or like after school kind of course?
I forget if it was. Might have been sometimes before. It might have been after. I remember I was also in 6th grade. It was called the area band. So I think there was students from a couple of different schools. We get together at South Lakes High School, and I played the drums in that. But yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
But it wasn't just like music class. It was a whole separate thing.
Yeah, it was a separate thing. So they would have the elementary school band, right? And they would have like the people playing horns, and I would be the guy, going doom doom on a bass drum or playing the snare drum.
That band that was put together that you were playing at South Lakes in like 6th grade or whatever, were there guys in that band or girls that wound up playing like in the scene and in other bands later on? Was there anybody that you met?
I don't think so. And I don't remember too much of it, but I don't think so.
Who were like the first people that you ever attempted to jam with?
Oh, let's see. So this is funny. One year for Christmas, this is probably in elementary school. I got one of those Toys R Us drum sets, right? It's like a total pile of shit, but it was called the Golden Beat. Mm-hmm. That's what it said on the front. So we started a band called the Golden Beat. We didn't know what the hell. Yeah, well, that's what was on the bass drum, so that's what we decided to call it, right? We couldn't change it up. One guy played a guitar, and oh shit, I thought I was turning my amplifier off, and I turned it on. Sorry about that. So that was really just us trying to be cool. We ended up just making a ridiculous amount of noise, and my mom regretted that purchase. Little did she know that the misery her ears would experience was yet to come high school.
Who was in the Golden Beat?
It was me. I think my brother Andrew might have been in it, but he was probably 5 years old, so I really don't know what he did. It probably just stood around and annoyed me. A guy named Nick Bellini might have been in it. We had like a toy microphone that you could yell in, that had a cord attached to a little plastic speaker. And the Golden Beat drum set. Everything kind of revolved around the Golden Beat drum set because, that was that. So that was my first foray.
When did shit start getting real?
So the shit got real come high school. I think it had to have been sophomore year, so 1987. Brian talked to you a little bit about, the history of bands and wrestling. I didn't know of any bands that weren't, punk rock or hardcore bands. Maybe, with the exception of Crunchy Water and Split Decision, right? Crunchy Water was like a classic rock band with Sam Gunderson and Lefty and Gabe Cater, and Split Decision played go-go. But every other band was punk or hardcore. I mean, the first guy singing for Split Decision, I believe, was, or the MC, whatever you call the guy on the front in the go-go band. That was Steve Covert, who I believe was the singer in either Pudwhack or Jesus Freaks. Those were kind of the two hardcore or punk rock bands that came before Hostile Environment and LDK. There was also a band called Foundation. So those were like the three bands that were out and probably dissolved. Okay, and Flea Stacks that Joe Banks was in prior to Hostile Environment and LDK. And then as Avell was getting started...
I've never heard of Jesus Freaks before, although that's a really cool name too.
Yeah.
What was that band?
I don't know. I just remember skating a ramp with Pat Kennedy, and somebody had Pudwhack and Jesus Freaks scrawled on their skateboard, on the grip tape. I was like, what's that? And they're like, oh, that's a band. It's, so-and-so who whatever name he said totally escapes me. But Jesus Freaks and Pudwhack and Foundation were the ones that came before.
Yeah, I've heard Foundation because their music is out there. But I don't know anybody that still has any recordings of like Pudwhack or Flea Stacks or, there's barely any.
I don't think that, I don't know. There probably isn't, aside from maybe, whoever was in the band recorded a practice tape, maybe they recorded something, but I never heard of anything existing. And I always wanted to get my hands on a Flea Stacks tape, even back in high school, because Avell played one or two Flea Stacks songs, but, and I would always hound Joe, but I never got one.
Well, apparently Brian has something because they did, they covered one of their songs and he played one of their songs on the Dissonance show.
Oh, that's right.
So,
that's right.
So he's got something from Flea Stacks.
I'll have to bug him for it.
Yeah, everybody winds up going to Brian for a lot of this stuff.
Dude.
He's a good rest in archives.
Yeah, I think he got it from, I think Thomas Moschke was the one that was actually doing the archiving. And then Brian got it, I think, from him. I know that Brian did a lot of the LDK archiving, but as far as all the other bands, I think Thomas did most of that, transferred it from cassette to CD.
Good on him for doing that.
Right?
Yeah. So you had heard all of those other bands.
Yep.
And
I went to a party at Susan Medville's house. She lived up, I think it's Indian Ridge, right off. Is that off Sunrise Valley, across it from the International Center?
Yeah.
The townhouse is up there. So she had a show in her basement. It was Hostile Environment and LDK. And, it was just madness. And I was like, holy shit, I want in. And it turned out that a band called Knothead was being formed. And at the time, it was Terry Marquez on bass, John Gillum was the guitar player, and Dave Gilligan was the singer. And John Gillum somehow they heard that I played drums, or I don't know, I didn't have a drum set. But maybe I was saying, I'm a drummer. Who knows, just because I wanted in so bad. So, there weren't that many drummers. So I decided to pick that up, and one thing led to another, and I was Knothead's drummer, which led to the old, okay, I'm in a band, I'm the drummer, I don't have a drum set.
So where'd you get one?
Well, luckily, so Ben Rosenquist was a drummer in Hostile Environment, and he was actually in the process of getting himself a new set. So I bought his old set, which I think he got from, I think Brian or Matt Kozlowski may have mentioned where Ben got it. But I ended up getting.
I think he said
set.
he got it from like either Tim Berry or one. I think he got it from one of the guys in the Vale, or Doug Crosby or somebody like that. Or
maybe that's right. It was Doug Crosby's old set. You're right. That's exactly right. It was and I wish I still had it, because it was probably an old 1960s Ludwig drum set.
Nice.
It was, the old Buddy Rich setup with one Ratcom. It actually had, an L-shaped, probably 18-inch long cymbal stand that had a little wing nut clamp on the kick drum for the cymbal.
Mm-hmm.
It was old. And whoever, maybe it was Doug, they probably spray painted it black, because underneath the black was that old kind of marbly Ringo Starr Ludwig finish from the 60s. So, but that wasn't punk rock. So we had to have he had to have a black one. So I'm sure he just spray painted over it. So I got that, and then I was the drummer in Knothead.
And so, did you guys? Where did you guys rehearse?
We at 12125 Stirrup Road in Reston, my parents' house, in the basement. God bless my mom. Almost every day after school, the crew would come over, and we would make a racket until it was time for everyone to go home for dinner or whatever. My dog Goose would sleep on the couch the whole time. Sometimes girlfriends would be down there sleeping too. I don't know how they slept, to the racket we were making, and Dave Gilligan's caterwauling, but it was a good time. We practiced there.
What's the first song that you remember coming together?
Once I Cry by Uniform Choice. It was off the Scream with the Chains album. It was a cover song.
Shut tight, no one gets to hear my mind.
really cool song.
Did it suit Dave Gilligan's voice really well?
You know, it actually did. It did, because it was a mix of screaming and kind of that 7 seconds-y uniform choice singing in, you know, monotone, hardcore style. So it did.
I like his vocals.
Yeah. He had a really good scream, and it was he was like, he would try, I thought he sang too much in some songs that I thought they're meant to be screaming, but he would change it up. Sometimes it got old. My dad still makes fun of one of our songs to this day.
Which one?
It was a song, Rise Above, off the Knothead demo tape.
That's the title of the album, right?
The title track off the Knothead demo, that's right.
Why does he make fun of that one?
Oh, he just made fun of Dave's voice. He didn't care for it.
You know which one I like is Remembering When.
That one? That one I wrote. I wrote the music and the words of that one. And at the end of that song, he's screaming, and that's how he was supposed to sing like that the whole song.
Must not have been good enough for you. You went for something more. Even if we are friends again, it won't be like before. Doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, it was about a guy who was one of our best friends, and we did everything together, skated, hung out, and then we got to 10th grade. He got his driver's license and ditched us all for the popular jock crowd.
Yeah, well, it's one of those like high school songs that everybody can kind of relate to. You know, like I can totally imagine back then just like, you know, completely connecting to that.
Right
to
on.
that feeling.
Cool.
Who recorded the Rise Above demo?
Yeah, we did that in Josh Krasnogor's living room on a 4-track.
Josh Krasnogor.
Yeah, you know Josh?
Yeah, he's out here too.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. I think he and probably Matt Ekstrom are the guys that coined the term Zubik. So yeah, we recorded that in his living room, and boy, that was fun. Trying to play along So we did the drums first. And I just went, the tape is rolling. I'm looking at Tom Ziti. So we basically somehow we kicked out John Gillum. And Tom Ziti became the guitar player. So I guess the final lineup of Knothead was me on drums, Tom Ziti on guitar, Terry Marquez on bass, and Dave Gilligan singing. So to record that, we did the drums first. No scratch tracks or nothing. I just kind of watched Tom play the song, and I played the drums like that, and then he put the headphones on, did his guitar track, and then Terry did his bass.
So you mean he was sitting there just playing without electrification or anything, and you're just playing, your drums?
Yeah, it was
super loud.
It was ridiculous. I don't know how it worked, but somehow it worked, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, there's stops. There's stops, there's starts, there's little spots where it's just the bass or there's just the guitar. Somehow it worked. I don't know. Yeah,
well, you make it work. Like, it's not like you guys knew really what you were doing or how to record an album.
Josh was he was the guy with the fancy equipment. We just, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We were just like, everyone was making a demo, so we had to make one.
What the hell were you guys doing on the song Brother?
The song Brother?
Yeah, it's got crazy effects on it. It's
Builder.
Oh, it's Builder. Okay.
Yeah, Builder. Yeah, that song. It's got like the Bullet the Blue Sky drums in the beginning.
Yeah. But it's cool. It's a totally different drum vibe for you. And then the vocals they're just soaked in reverb and echo and I don't know what
we were like, I think was like, well, maybe it'd be cool if we put some delay or echo on the vocals. And that's what we did. Yeah, we probably went overboard because I don't think we knew how to turn it off once it was on. That was like the late 80s, hardcore was taking a weird turn. Like 7 Seconds, bands went off in some really weird directions, man. Like 7 Seconds kind of thought they were U2 or something for a minute. Youth Brigade became The Brigade and put out a horrible album. They were almost turning like melodic, and it wasn't really emo, but it was just bad, trying to make more, I think, accessible stuff. So it was either that, going that direction, or they tried to go real metal. Like Gangrene went super metal-y, and that didn't work out for them either. So we were trying to, do the hardcore thing, but then I think there was that song like Builder that kind of came out of that whole weird direction that every other band that we listened to was doing.
Who were the drummers that you idolized at that time?
Man, Tim Berry was one for sure. I would think, a lot of my influences, especially back then, were just the other guys in bands. Like Tim Berry was a killer drummer. Danny McGee was an excellent drummer. He played in Transilliance, and then he also played in Repercussion with Davis White. Those guys, but then also there was Bomber from RKL. That Rock and Roll Nightmare album, I don't know if you've heard it or if you're at all familiar with it, but the drumming on that is absolutely insane. And then you find out that he also, he did the drums and the bass on that album.
Wow.
So that guy was absolutely amazing. Who else? Keith Moon and John Bonham, of course. I'm trying to think of who else. As far as drummers go, really, I think that probably sums it up. Back then I was just trying to learn, a lot of us, like I learned how to play the drums on all the LDK stuff, all the Avail stuff, all the other stuff, and we all could play each other's songs pretty much. And I think that would be it, if something ever happened where someone needed, and it never happened. But except one time I did get to play LDK songs with Munoz and Craig and Brian Sullivan sang. But we all learned each other's songs just so we could play them and jam out. It was just fun. So, we were all, at least for me, I was under everyone else's influence.
Other than house parties, did you get a chance to play out in any clubs or any other places?
Just jam for man.
And what was that like?
That was super fun, man. I never played in a place, one, where it was actually, this is legal. It's not going to get shut down. I'd never had the drum set mic'd before. So they had like a real legit sound system there. So they mic'd the drums, they mic'd the amplifiers, and they had monitors. So yeah, that was cool. That was a pretty big thing, I think, for a lot of us. And the fact that, there was a couple hundred people there was pretty bitchin' too.
Which Jam for Man was it that you got a chance to play in?
I think it was the first one at the Wrestling Community Center. So that might have been Jam for Man 2 or 3.
The first one at the Community Center was 2. I believe.
Yeah. Jam for Man 1 was at Herndon.
Yeah. And then I think 3 is the one that was out on the field. And then I think it went back to the community center after that.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
So you played the one in the community center, because that's what the Wrestling Community Center is what I really associate with Jam for Man.
Yeah. That was the one that I played. I think it was Knothead played, Avail played, I think Transilliance played, Psychotic Symptoms played, Doubt played, I think Crunchy Water played that one. I know somebody. It was basically all the bands at the time played, with the exception, I think, of maybe LDK did play that one. I forget.
I think so. I'll have to look at the flyer. Unfortunately, I wasn't there for that one.
No?
Do you remember being in the audience for any of the sets?
Oh yeah, totally. I was in the audience, or I was around the back wall where we all had our little tables where we were selling T-shirts and demo tapes.
Do you still have any of the Knothead merch?
All I have, I think it's still at my parents' house. I think I still have a bunch of photocopies of the cassette, the layout, the covers. That we did that at Chris Leonard's mom's real estate office one night. We just went over there and ran off 200 double-sided. We used all the ink in the office's Xerox machine, and made those. So I think I have those. I didn't have a tape or anything until I saw Brian several years ago, and he hooked me up with basically every single Reston Band's material on CD.
Nice.
I was super stoked. Yeah, and he also had a bunch of old flyers from back then, including some that I drew, that I had totally forgotten about.
And so, what wound up happening with Knothead? Why did you guys break up?
I think, we had creative differences, man. I think one day we were practicing, and Dave and Terry started bickering at each other, and all of a sudden, fuck you, I quit, and Terry walked away. And then I think Tom kind of took Terry's side for a while, and I was like, what the fuck do we do? And David and I jammed with Jason Radley, but without a bass player. Maybe DJ jammed with us. But, and then for whatever reason, I wanted to play guitar. So I started jamming with Terry, Jason Browning, and Craig, who is the drummer of Psychotic Symptoms. We started another band, and then Dave, Jason Radley, and Pat Kennedy started Remission.
Well, you just named a hell of a lot of great Reston musicians and players. You just rattled them off.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty cool time, man. It was really neat to think that, just as a bunch of literally punk kids, putting together bands, putting together shows, certainly on a much smaller scale. But it was our own. We did it, and it was something that we could say, hey, we were proud of it. Whether or not it was very good, that's all subjective, but we thought it was the greatest thing in the world.
What you also recorded under the name Step Aside.
That's right. And it's funny you mentioned that band, because I want to say 15 years ago, I got an email from somebody. I don't know how they tracked me down, maybe through somebody, and they mentioned that band. And I had completely forgotten, erased from memory, that I ever did that until I get this email, and he had digitized the demo. And I was like, holy shit. Andy, it never happened. After 1988 or 89 when we recorded, it may as well have never happened, because I didn't even know or remember it at all until all of a sudden this guy's like, hey, I got this tape you recorded.
I can't take anymore.
That's wild, and you don't even remember who the guy was or like how he found you.
Yeah, I forget the guy. He was he must have known because it was me. I played drums on that. Steve Scleroux was the guitar player, and he was the guitar player in Psychotic Symptoms.
What a name,
Scleroux, right?
Steve Scleroux.
Yeah. And Keith Robinson was the singer. He was also the singer of Psychotic Symptoms. And at that time, so this must have been 88, 89, maybe late 86. No, 87, 88, whatever, those 3 years. New York hardcore was at its peak with like Warzone and Agnostic Front, Cro-Mags, Gorilla Biscuits, Youth of Today. The compilation The Way It Is came out on Revelation Records. And then there were some newer bands coming out like Leeway and Raw Deal. And for whatever reason, Steve and Keith were infatuated with that Raw Deal sound. And I think that's what they tried to do with Step Aside. And it's
definitely way heavier than Knothead.
Yeah, it is, and it's so it's almost contrived, but I think they were really trying to make it sound like one of those New York bands like Raw Deal.
So you guys never played. That was not a band that ever played out anywhere or ever played the show.
No, we practiced in my basement. We recorded. It took forever to find a bass player who could play, and I don't know why. The songs were not difficult. I think it was a matter of finding somebody who actually wanted to play.
You should have just grabbed your brother.
Well, he would have been at that time 10 or 11 years old.
Yeah.
Had I known,
if he doesn't have to get into a club.
Yeah. But we initially, I think Jamie Fisher tried playing, and he just couldn't do it. And then there was this kid, I forget his last name. He was a little skinhead kid from New York. And Brian. I don't know his last name. I don't even know if he went to South Lakes, but he hung out with all of us. And he ended up, I believe, recording the bass on that. And then I think I quit. And I think I was like, I like Steve, I like Keith, I like Brian, but you guys are trying to it sounded contrived, It's like, we're not from the streets of fucking Queens. We
from the mean streets of Reston.
Yeah, the mean Stirrup Road.
And you got to watch yourself in those tunnels.
Yeah, man, you do actually. You do, or at least you did.
Well, watch yourself every time you're coming out of highs.
Right?
You never know.
You never know.
Yeah,
that was that. And I had another project I was playing guitar with Terry, Jason Brown, and Craig. We called that Green Lantern. We did a couple of RKL covers. We played some, I don't know if it was a talent show or something in the auditorium at South Lakes High School in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was done with that. And then I think I didn't play with anyone for a while and went to school.
So when did the call from JFA come?
So let's fast forward to 2002, 2003. I was working for this software company doing website and graphic design stuff. And we got a new public relations girl named Jennifer Brannon who was working there. She had a cubicle kind of catty corner to mine. And one day she hops on the phone. We can always hear each other's phone conversations and whatnot, right? In that kind of environment. Mm-hmm. And one day she made a phone call and said, is Brian Brandon, please? And then she went on, that was her husband. Her name was Jennifer Brennan. And then jokingly, after she hung up, you know, thinking there's no fucking way this lady is actually married to Brian Brannon, who I think it might be. I said, that's not Brian Brannon of JFA fame, is it? Thinking she's just going to look at me and say, what?
Who?
Yeah. And she said, yes, it is. So yeah, that was just random. And, you know, I was like, are they still playing? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, they're playing. They have a problem. You know, they always have a problem with drummers. You know, in fact, they're looking for one because their last drummer, you know, was a heroin addict, and he relapsed for the third time, and that's it. They're done with him. So I was like, well, I play the drums. And I gave her a couple of tapes that I had played on, or CDs that I had played on. I think at this time I was actually in bands that put out CDs, not just demo tapes. One thing led to another, and I started playing with JFA. And that was sometime in 2003. Turns out I was the 17th drummer, maybe the 15th drummer that they'd had. But I joined, and the bass player, Corey Stretch, who's in the band with me, that kind of make up the rhythm section. We have been in the band longer than the original drummer and the original bass player, as well as longer than the two guys that preceded us.
And yet you're still the new guys, right?
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like Ron Wood and Rolling Stones. He's the new guy.
So what has it been like playing in JFA?
You know, I still kind of freak out. I'm really freaked out. I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. How did I get here, you know? And it all has to do with skateboarding, really, because it turns out that me and Brian knew a lot of the same people. You know, he worked at Thrasher magazine, and when I moved to San Jose, I really got deep into the skate scene and the industry, and hung out with a lot of riders and made a lot of friends with them, and I was getting skateboards and equipment and stuff for free from Santa Cruz. And just through skateboarding, he and I knew a lot of the same people, but we had never really actually met each other. But yeah, I was like, wow, I used to listen to this band as a kid, you know, this is fucking JFA. Jody Foster's on me, holy shit, you know. I spray painted JFA on the garage at my parents' house back, 1984, 85 or something. And it's been cool, man. It's all of us still ride skateboards. Like I said, we're going this Saturday before our show in LA. We're going to skate a backyard pool, before the show. Whenever we go on tours, we hook up with the locals, hit the skate spots. I think we've done, since I've been in the band in the last 15 years, we've done one sound check. 'Cause we don't like getting to the club early. There's no one there and just kind of rock starring out. That's, sitting around. That's lame. We'd rather go skate and do something fun, right? So we'll do line checks right before we play, and that typically works out just fine. But,
have you skated with them in Europe and Asia and
well, we did for the first time. So they were going to do a European tour back in the 80s, and right before they were about to go, Carlos the Jackal made a threat, right? So security was tight, and they were basically saying, a punk band going to Europe, they're going to tear your stuff down to the transistor, if you're trying to bring amps. So somehow, and then their drummer at the time quit, so they never did it. So they had really only done U.S. and Canada. So the first time we went to England was in 2016. We did a quick trip out there. We played in London. And then we went out there basically for the Rebellion Festival in Blackpool. which is on the northwest coast of England, and you know it's amazing. So we got to play in front of 5,000 people outdoors, and the slot that we got was just I was standing on the stage at the end of the night. We're watching the Damned. They headlined the night that we played, and we had the slot a couple bands before us. So Booze and Glory played, then Culture Shock, which is Dick from Citizen Fish, and from why can't I think of his other band? Subhuman. It's his ska band, Culture Shock. They played. Then it was JFA. After us was Angelic Upstarts. Then GBH. And then The Damned headlined. And I'm just sitting there talking to Scotty from GBH, who, you know, I befriended a few years back when we did a bunch of shows with him out here. Like, dude, how did I get here? What the fuck? You know, this is insane, but it's awesome. You know, all these bands that I loved as a kid, you know, I'm sharing the stage with them in England in front of thousands of people. So it was killer.
Living the dream, man.
Highlight. I suppose. As far as those kind of dreams go.
Your brother said that you guys are going to be playing the East Coast, and maybe even perhaps playing on the same bill.
Yeah, we're doing a little tour with Ruined by Design in October. I'm more excited to play with them because they're fucking good.
Yeah.
We're playing Richmond, Philadelphia, Baltimore. I know those three for sure. But it'll be a quick one. You know, everyone works and has to get back. Well, except for our guitar player, Don. He's retired. He's retired now. Fucking old. But, yeah, that's going to be in October, middle of October. And, I'm really looking forward to that because those are good and they need the exposure. And I think they're starting to do it. They're starting to get some now, but, you know, getting to play some of the bigger venues out of town will be really good for those guys. And hopefully I can get them out here too.
You must be proud of your brother joining the family biz.
You know, I've been telling him for the past 20 plus years, play with a fucking band, you jerk. That's what, you know, because he's got chops. He's been playing the bass And I've been like, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you playing with people? And then what does he do? He goes, the first band he's in are fucking amazing. They're recording all the time. They're writing. They're doing all kinds of just cool shit. I'm like, about fucking time, Andrew. So,
well, you link up with the singer from Avail, and good things are going to happen.
Yeah, so it was. Yeah, I'm so stoked and just super proud of what he's doing, man. Cause they're good. I thank Brian for giving my brother a shot too.
It's awesome. So you guys aren't playing DC?
No, we're not playing DC, but we're playing Baltimore.
That's cool. Do you know what club you're playing in Baltimore?
Yeah, the Auto Bar.
Have you ever seen any acts there before?
No, I've never been to the Auto Bar. We're playing Strange Matter in Richmond, Kung Fu Kai in Philly, and the Auto Bar in Baltimore.
That sounds like it's going to be a fun tour.
Yeah, it's going to be super fun.
You have a young one at home though, right?
Yeah, I got a 5-year-old daughter. I also have a 20-year-old son who's in the Army.
Speaking of Army, I'm just wondering because I realized we didn't go through it or explain it for anybody. Can you explain the name JFA for anybody that isn't familiar or doesn't know you guys?
Yeah, I think I can do it because I've heard the guys do it in plenty of interviews over the years. So.
Oh man, I don't want to be that guy asking
No,
interview
it's cool.
questions.
This will be it's my first time actually kind of explaining it. And it's actually kind of cool because of the way it kind of a weird plot twist with regard to the name and some of the characters involved, right? So, back when they formed the band, they were initially called, it was the Breakers. So it was Don, Michael Cornelius, Brian Brandon, and Bam Bam. And they had a song, it was after, so they were called the Breakers. And after Reagan was shot, one guy, Don and his buddy were watching the news, and the guy's like, man, Jodie Foster has a gun club, huh? And Don said, no, she has an army. So after the attempted assassination, because, Hinckley did it to impress Jodie Foster, just like Robert De Niro's character, Travis Bickle, in Taxi Driver. When he tried to kill, I think, the guy that was running for Senate or governor, he did it and then tried to save Jodie Foster from, a life of prostitution and so on. So Hinckley tried to kill Reagan in order to impress the love of his life, which was Jodie Foster. So they had, go back to the name of the band, they were called the Breakers. Turns out there was already some sort of hippie band called the Breakers, so they already had the song Jodie Foster's Army. Around that time, people were making kind of do-it-yourself patches or taking bandanas with spray-painted JFA on the patches and putting them on their jackets, putting them on their, around their boots, around their arm, like an armband. So JFA
on their garages.
On their garages, right? So they're like, well, we got the song. Everybody kind of has the bandanas with JFA on it. Let's just call the band Jodie Foster's Army. A lot of people nowadays, in 2021, in 3 years, the band will be 40 years old. So, unless you were around in the 80s, it's kind of hard to explain to somebody, Jodie Foster's Army, what does that mean, right?
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm having you explain the reference.
Well, there we go. And here's something that's kind of neat. So Hinckley's the guy that shot Reagan to impress Jodie Foster. after that, he was locked up in St. Elizabeth's, the mental hospital for the criminally insane, for lack of a better term, right, in D.C. And then he's out now. He was let out. And it turns out that my uncle's cousin was the psychiatrist that said he's cool to go out. So, kind of came full circle, right?
Well, who knows? When you guys tour the East Coast, maybe he can catch a show.
Right? Yeah. I'm sure he'd love us.
Well, I think you did a really good job explaining the name and the connection. As you know, for the new guy in the band.
Yeah, the new guy.
It's not bad. You've heard a lot of the podcast, but people definitely talk about, you as a foundational member of the Reston hardcore scene, and there's certainly an amount of pride that you hear in people's voice.
Really?
When they sort of speak your name, and the fact that you're doing well playing in a seminal hardcore band.
One of the bands that we all listened to as kids.
Yeah, and just sort of carrying on the tradition of Reston hardcore and making, good on that all around the world.
Killer. No, it's cool. I mean, that's how I learned how to play music, really, is by, joining Knothead. It's how I learned how to play with other people. It's how I learned how to write songs. It's how I taught myself to play the guitar and whatnot. I mean, obviously, if I wanted to make money, I wouldn't be playing this kind of music, right? But it's just something about it has always appealed to me and been a part of me, and kind of makes me feel like that's what I'm supposed to do musically. So I've tried playing other stuff, and it's not as fun. It feels uncomfortable.
I think it's crazy that, and who knows why, there were so many talented musicians, all in one place, all at one time. And, maybe there's something in the water. Maybe there's something, special about Northern Virginia or the DC suburbs. But, for at least a good 10, 15-year period, there were just an amazing amount of bands and talented musicians that came out of that place.
Yeah, that's super cool. Certainly for what we did, there wasn't, what else were we going to do? We skateboarding in public, we were trying to stay out of trouble, but then the simple act of trying to stay out of trouble got us in trouble, So, there's a lot of stuff that to us just didn't fucking make sense. And then this new thing called hardcore music was coming out, and, I think a lot of us were drawn to that, as kids from the suburbs. We're in a planned community where it's supposed to be this utopian society, right? But, it wasn't. And it was kind of our way to, band together because we were a bunch of misfits and didn't fit anywhere else. And it was something fun to do. And it was an outlet creatively and probably, emotionally too.
Well, you guys kind of formed your own little utopian society.
I would go so far as to say it was utopian, but it was a society, I guess, of sorts.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for what it was a lot of fun. It was really cool. Thinking back on it, like, yeah, wow, we got away with a lot of shit.
Yeah, and you guys all created a surprisingly great amount of music that still I think lasts the test. Who knows? Maybe I'm looking to try to put together an anniversary concert if at all possible. Maybe next year, maybe next summer. We're looking to do a 30th anniversary Jam for Man.
Yeah, that would be cool. I sent a message to Brian, and it would be cool to get, even obviously we're not going to get Knothead and Hostile Environment to reunite, right? But any of those people that are still playing music from that era, if there's a way to get those folks together, that would be super cool.
I'm not going to say that we can't get Hostile Environment or Knothead to reunite. I'm not making that call.
All right.
Who knows? Maybe you guys put together a few calls, say that there's a Jam for Man coming up. Who knows what people are going to want to do?
I know, right?
So, hopefully if we do it, you'll be free and can be involved.
Yeah, that'd be fun, man.
You're definitely one of the very important foundational members of the scene, and somebody that's still carrying on the traditions of that music.
Rad.
Back in Arizona, we have one simple rule: when you hit the first wall of a brand new pool, you got started. Coming in the deep end at 1,000 miles per hour, obliterated company, more shots in the shower, got you run. Seek and ye shall find. Keep constant, look out all the time. Carving through the shallows at a supersonic clip, smacking the coffee like Johnny Boy, it's a lip, you got to grind. Some black devils are mellow, another one's a mean. Marking up choices, my engine G15, you got to grind. Seek and ye shall find. Keep constant, look out all the time. Josh made them real, they got curves on the street. When they come together, that's sounding